8th of January 2026. In this Warrafak news flash, not going to be a flash, it's going to be more than a flash, I'm going to say things that are going to get many people very upset. But somebody has to say these things. And I want to talk about this thing about the Boer and the Afrikaner that's in the media. And I want to talk about Cyril and his our people concept. And just tell you blacks, you militant racist blacks, you're in for a hell of a fucking ride. South Africa is currently, as I'm talking to you here, nothing else than a big gangster-controlled territory. That's what it is. Gangsters everywhere. You go to home affairs, you run into gangsters. You go to the police, you run into gangsters. Everywhere you go to the hospitals, gangsters will control things. And you know it, and we see it, but you don't want to acknowledge it. So, that's your problem, that's not my problem. But let me talk about this Boer-Afrikaner thing for you blacks to understand. Let's start at the Anglo-Boer War. It was the Boere fighting the British Empire because the British Empire was only interested in stealing the mineral wealth that was in the Boer republics. The gold and the diamonds primarily. And it was a hell of a fight. 40,000 Boere against 400,000 British soldiers. And those 40,000 Boere, the history is there, you can go and read it. Fuck the British up. And in the end, what did the British do? They turned on the women and children, and they killed thousands of Boer women and children, literally thousands. And they burned the farms and they killed all the cattle. The Boere that was captured was sent to camps on Ceylon and St. Helena and things like that. That's history, you can go and read it up. But here comes the sad part. The 40,000 Boere that fought the British fought like lions. But 25,000 Afrikaners joined the British to fight against the Boere. From there the name joiner. Now I know about these fucking joiners personally, but you can go and read up the history about it. And those joiners participated in the atrocities that was committed against the Boer women and children in the concentration camps. They helped the British with the ugly things that was done to the Boer women and children. And what was their reward? Eventually the Boer surrendered because the killing was too much of their women and children. And the Boer was forced into surrendering. What happened after that? Those Boer farms, where the women and the children were killed in the concentration camps and the men died overseas in the camps on Ceylon and in St. Helena, that farms were given to those Afrikaner joiners. And I know what I'm talking about, my own grandfather's neighbor. The women and the children were killed in the concentration camps. The man died on Ceylon and a fucking Afrikaner got that farm after the war. So I know what I'm talking about. But you must go and find out and read the history. And then after that, there was an organization called the Broederbond. That Broederbond, there was some other people working with him and other instances, but let's focus on the Broederbond for this video. Was part of the machinery that created this synthetic thing called the Afrikaner. And the Boer culture and the Boer history was expropriated, and all the whites were brainwashed to believe they were Afrikaners. So the cultural identity of the Boer was wiped off the table. Now, I can go on with that, but I'm not. I'm going to talk to you blacks now. In 1994, when the ANC took control, that ANC did not represent one single black tribe. And tribal affairs were far from their minds. Look what they did to Botswana. a tribal land, independent tribal land. They destroyed Botswana. They fought the sense of tribe like hell. Why? Because they were pushing this thing of our people. And the same fuckers that sat behind the Afrikaner thing is behind this our people thing. They turned you black people, you Zulus, Xhosas, Vendas, Tswanas. They turned Swazis. They turned you into our people. They wiped your cultural identity off the table. And now here comes the big fucking problem. There is a document in which it's clearly stated that no Boer or no Zulu must ever again be allowed to have power in South Africa. Why did they do that? Because the Zulu and the Boer tribes are the tribes with a history of fighting the fucking British. And then the ANC pushed the our people thing, and by some miracle, Zuma managed to get into control. And from day one, Zuma was bound to fail because the whole globalist machinery was working against him. He didn't have a chance. But he fought bravely, but he didn't have a chance. Okay. And then Zuma went. And that Venda Jew followed up. Doesn't care about the tribe. Only cares about the pockets of him and his cadres. What happened after 94? The mineral rights were immediately expropriated. So, the government owned the minerals, mineral rights, and the minerals. And you must understand, the ANC is just puppets of the globalists. The Zionists are behind the same fucking Zionist movement that engineered the Afrikaner fuck-up is behind this our people fuck-up. But what happened in the end? After the Anglo-Boer War, the Afrikaners participated in handing everything to the British. After 1994, the ANC expropriated the mineral rights. They did not belong to companies yet, but belonged to private people. Under their land, they expropriated the minerals, and they gave it to the fucking conglomerate globalists. Did you, living in your little township, have any advantage from that? Fuck all, nothing. The super rich got richer, but the ANC handed these things to them. Dr. Verwoerd was killed mainly for the reason that he realized that South Africa could never be free as long as the British controlled the wealth and the Americans. And he was on the point of expropriating Anglo-American, nationalizing Anglo-American. And the day that he walked into Parliament to put that on the table was the day that he was killed. So, you blacks running into the stadiums singing "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer," you don't understand. Your own killing is being organized and you are participating in it. Look what did the ANC do to you. Not the ANC, the puppet masters. What did they do to you? Since 1994, they instituted an uncontrolled breeding program. And for a few rand a month, you guys bred babies like fucking hell. Today, 64% of, that's a guesstimate, of the SASA children don't have a clue who their fathers are. So they have no cultural history. They're just there to be controlled by people like Julius Malema. And they whipped into a frenzy with slogans like "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer," "One settler, one bullet," shit like that. That's what they're doing. But you black people, you are drunk on this our people construct, and you fall for the brainwashing. Kill the Boer, kill the farmer. Racism and all that cuck. What will happen if all the Boere is gone? First thing is you will not have food, but you don't realize it. But let's talk about another simple thing that you can understand. Let's keep it simple. What did they do? They contaminated all the open water with sewage. Sewage in the rivers, sewage in the streams, sewage in the flyers, sewage in the dams. Those places where you could walk to in the old days, take your bucket and go and scoop the water up and use it. That water is now so contaminated, if you drink or use that water, you're dead. That's what they did first, contaminate the surface water. So there's no free water available anywhere. And the next they turn the taps off. They've got all sorts of stories of why the taps are dry. But the fact is the taps are dry. And you are in trouble. Because you can last about 28 days without food, but you can't last more than 2 days without water. And what do you know? The tanker brigade arrives. And the people run for the tankers and they queue for the tankers and they can just too glad that they can scoop some water from those tankers. My question to you is how many of you are actually testing that water that you get from those tankers? I don't want you to answer. Think for yourself. But here's the thing that you must really think about. You see how the clinics and the hospitals has been fucked. You can see that. They can't cope with a normal load. Now just for a moment, imagine something is put in those tankers. It's going to make you very ill. The moment that you get ill and the media starts talking about it, the first thing the controllers are going to say is, yeah, look at that, all that sewage in the streams, in the flyer, everywhere. That's the source of your problem. So they've got plausible deniability. They have built their own defense against the accusation right in front of your eyes. But now you must understand there are bacterial components known. If you get that in, 24 hours later you are dead. Not sick, you're dead. Now, imagine the tankers get contaminated and the people starts dying. There's no health service that can support it. People are going to die. And it is already, the WEF says it out without blinking an eye. There's too many people on this earth. But listen to this, South Africa, that breeding program has got no rules. So there's no checks and balances. So the babies are being popped out by the thousands. So much so that today we're 65 million. That's the estimate, 65 million blacks in South Africa. And knowledgeable people agree there's about 30 million immigrants. Now what is this immigrants? Why do I talk about them? You must understand, the bulk of them are young men, and the bulk of those young men used to be child soldiers. So those are actually warriors. Yeah, they're now here in your country, in our country, running spaza shops and things like that, and they're everywhere among the communities. But they are armed and they're fucking dangerous. And they're 30 million. A few months before Dr. Buthelezi died, he sent a WhatsApp to a friend of mine, and he said to her, when the war breaks out, the Afrikaner need to stay out of it or they will be wiped out. He didn't make a distinction between Boer and Afrikaner, but that's not important. That's what he said. When the war breaks out, what war was he talking about? A tribal war. That was what he was talking about. But I don't think he realized the numbers of the immigrants. So, what's going to happen here is these looters, you know them, they're everywhere, and they're out of control, and they're uncontrollable. When they start looting the immigrant businesses, the immigrants are going to fight back. And it will be a war between the immigrants and the locals. And within days, the locals, because they are so factionalized, is going to turn onto one another. And you will see killing like you can't believe. Go and think and go and read what happened in Rwanda. Go and happen. What happened in Rwanda? Millions were killed. Not whites killing blacks or blacks killing whites. Black on black. This is what's going to happen in South Africa. Black on black violence, like you can't believe. And it was all beautifully engineered. with this fucking our people thing. Same thing as I fuck this Boere with the Afrikaner thing. So, you blacks, you better listen to a Boer, because a Boer understands what the fuck is going on. And the Boere has got a history. They have fought against massive odds and won. And another thing that you must take note of, I don't believe that you will believe it or pay attention to it, but it's a fact. Go and see what happened at Blood River. What was the odds there, and the Boer won. Why? Because the Boer has got a covenant with God. And God placed the Boer here on the southern tip of Africa for a reason. I don't know what the reason is, but if you look at how God protected the Boer throughout their history, you need to ask yourself some serious questions. But let me stop now. What I'm going to say to you as a black person, part of this our people construct, you need to understand that your wipeout has been planned already. Look at this fucking image. Look at this woman. Listen to what she's saying. All roads leads to East London. One bullet, one settler. Let's go, fighters. She's trying to whip you into a frenzy to kill me and my tribe. Why does Cyril allow this? Because he has got these instructions to allow you people to kill one another. 80 people is killed per day in South Africa. A few of them are, now and then there are whites among them, but mostly blacks. So calculate how many blacks are being killed. How many blacks has been killed since 1994? Hundreds of thousands. But you don't pay attention to the details. They are going to slaughter you while you are singing, kill the Boer, kill the farmer. You don't understand what they're going to planning for you. But that's your problem. You ride on that another fallacy of you've got natural intelligence. You don't have to study. Well, let's see if the natural intelligence are going to work for you. Because Moses 6 verse 6 is clear. Stupid people must suffer. And trust me, the suffering is going to be severe. I'm going to stop now and leave you with this final message. When you see that water tanker, remember what the Boer man has told you today. Don't forget it. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.